I think you should be doing, or how you could be better, or I thought, well, let me just speak from the heart, speak from my gut, and really not have anything prepared, but just tell you what's worked for me. And maybe some of the stuff that's worked for me might work for you now, currently, presently, as you guys have your goals and ambitions, but then further on down the line, as you guys continue to live your life. This idea and this notion that you could be anything you want, and you can accomplish anything you want, right? We hear that. You've heard that from the time you were little boys. You hear that now. You're already incredibly accomplished. You guys know that. The thing that has worked for me is to remember the hard times. So, and I'm sure you guys all have your processes. And again, I'm going to tell you what worked for me. So before a big movie comes out, before, back in the days when I was wrestling with WWE, a WrestleMania match, anything big that would happen, I would always take a moment and I'd just remind myself, all right, I was evicted when I was 14. We were kicked off the island. We couldn't live in Hawaii. Had no place to live. A lot of shit happened then when I moved to Nashville. I was arrested multiple times by the time I was 16 years old. I would remember that, and it allows me then to be present in the moment and understand, holy shit, the stuff I have around me right now. This is the shit that I dreamed of when I was a kid. I am here. I played for University of Miami, played for great teams. Warren Sapp, Ray Lewis, they were my teammates. They were balling. Warren Sapp was playing tight end that time. I was starting defensive tackle. Yeah, they moved him over to D-line. And he looked at me, he's like, yo, dude, I'm gonna take your spot. And I said, you ain't taking my spot. He said, I'm gonna take your spot. I said, no, you ain't. We battled, and he took my spot. Now you can imagine how that with me, because there goes my opportunity. He went in, switched to defensive tackle, lit the world on fire. Well, what that did, it crushed me, and it crushed my dreams. I had a piss poor senior year, zero production, no NFL, no combine invite, nothing. Finally went to the CFL, Calgary Stampeders, making $250 a week Canadian. Now I had to send that home to my wife at that time. Had no money. So I remember that. When I got cut from Canada, my dad in his pickup truck came down 4 o'clock in the morning, picked me up in Miami from Tampa. We lived in a little apartment in Tampa. He drove down in his little pickup truck to Miami to get me when I was cut from the CFL. And I thought, well, I leave home like you guys left home. I'm ready to tackle the world, get after it, achieve my dreams and goals. Crushed by 22, 23 years old. Now I got to move back in with my mom and dad. I played on great teams though. Wait a second, this is not supposed to be my future. I'm supposed to be in the NFL right now. I'm supposed to be making a lot of coin and buying my parents, buying me, taking care of my wife, but it never happened. So I pulled out my wallet. I thought, well, let me see how much money I have. I opened it up. I had a 5, a 1, and change. Well, at least I rounded up to $7. But I thought, God, ain't this a bitch? I got $7 in my pocket. Where the f do I go now? What do I do? I can't go back to CFL. The point comes where you hear that voice, big run's over. Like, you're done, right? So I heard that voice. So as Coach was saying, man, I hold on to that. I'm telling you, I keep my back is up against this mother. We laugh, we joke, we have a good time, but my back is still up against this mother. I do not forget it. What this also helps me do, and again, it works for me, is at some point, you gotta be tired of not being number one. You have to be, and you gotta play angry, and I play angry. Now, I'm cool and calm with my approach, and when I step out on my field, which is a set, or, you know, like, there's some, and you're always gonna have haters, and haters are like, well, God damn, man, how many movies are you gonna make, or how much shit are you gonna do? Like, you do a lot of shit. I say, yes, it's my ambition. Of course, why not? I could do it. Yeah, I love what I do. And not only that, but in what world do we not work every day? My back is up against this thing, you know, and I started to play angry, by the way, and I still play angry. My last match, Brock Lesnar, transitioned, and I realized if I had to be great at something, I wanted to be great in this world of Hollywood and movie making and producing and entertainment, I had to commit, and like you guys have to commit. Obviously, you commit to something, commit to the goal. So I quietly retired. 2 years later, I thought, what did I do with my career? Because my movies were not doing well. I was written off. I was like, it was around 2006, 2007. I was like, I pulled a Jim Brown. I left when I was on top, like number one in the wrestling business, and I left. It was a ballsy, gutsy, some call it stupid move, but I had to commit and I had to follow what was in my gut. What helps me is to keep the hard times in the front of my mind, because it allows me to go into these big moments that I've worked my ass off, and you guys have worked your ass off. It allows me to go into these big moments with a different perspective. What it also does for me, and again, this is what works for me. Like, my back is up against this mother. Every day, it's against this wall. But it's up against this mother, because it's what I believe in. And when my back is against this mother, then there's nowhere to go. But that way. That's it. Doesn't mean you don't smile. Doesn't mean you don't laugh and joke. Right? You're happy. I'm a happy guy. But when it comes to business and when it comes to executing, it's up against this. And I got to go that way. And I don't give a fuck who is in front of me. They're not going to stop me. The key for me was, where does it start? What's the anchor? What's the anchor? So I could have all these ambitions, and you guys have all these ambitions, which is great. It's important. I'll play this role, you'll play that role. I'll execute this thing, and it'll come out this summer. You guys will execute this thing during the summer, right, when it's time to really put in a lot more work. But the key with me is just always finding what the anchor is. And the anchor is getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning every day before anybody else, and grounding my thought process is in the no one will outwork me. No one. I love and I respect you guys. You motherfucker won't outwork me. All starts with this. 2 hands, putting it to work. My last match in WWE, I'll share this with you guys too, is that, again, because there's a little bit of takeaway here from all this, is I wrestled John Cena, and I went in, I think it was 2013, I went in WWE champion, and we went in MetLife Stadium. We had a record-breaking attendance, which was amazing that night. We accomplished our goal. So I wrestled with John Cena. We had 45 minutes planned for the match. It's nonstop go, right? So your conditioning is tested. And at that time, I wasn't full-time in WWE. I was just doing these spot matches where I was still shooting G.I. Joe, I think, or Pain and Gain at that time. It was Fast and Furious 6 in London. Had to travel in the ring, get all my ring work in, travel back to shoot Fast and Furious, then back, WWE Raw, doing those shows. The big build-up to WrestleMania against John. We get to MetLife Stadium. It's a big night. This is it. It's game night, right? It's championship night for me. 45-minute match planned out. There's no cut. There's no, all right, well, let's pick it back up tomorrow. You know, it's go time. It's just like you guys in a game. At the 15-minute mark, bang! I feel something pop. I'm like, boom! What the? I'm laying there, and both of us are out. I said, oh, fuck, something's going on. And I stick my hand, that was 85,000 people, right? And we're just laid out like this. I kind of roll over, I stick my hand down in my trunk just to see, I want to make sure that there was no bone sticking out. So if there's no bone sticking out, what the, something just happened. Referee comes over and he's like, Rock, you all right? I'm like, yeah, I think I'm all right. I go to step, and I can't step. I can't do this. I have to use my leg like momentum. I gotta do that. So now in that moment, and you guys are gonna have these moments, you probably already had them already, where you're in the game and you're in the thick of things, and you gotta make a decision. What I gotta do? I'm gonna stay in the game, committed to the team. I committed to my team, the whole entire roster, right? So I could tell the ref says, are you okay? And I have one moment. In this moment, it was a defining moment. I could either tell him, no, I'm done. He'd give the signal, match is over. Or, let's keep going. We have this decision. And I said, no, let's keep going. I said, how much time is left? He's like, 32 minutes. I'm like, okay. Rest of the whole match, couldn't move, doing everything like this. I'm getting scared because I'm thinking, man, well, what happens if I pinch something or something like, you know, I don't know, your mind starts fucking with you in the moment. There's 85,000 people, your adrenaline's rushing. Thinking, man, what happens if I'm gonna lose my leg or some shit like this, if I've just done something to my artery? Final move of the match is his big finishing move. And I remember I'm getting up and I'm turning like this because I have to fall into him. He's gonna hit me with his big finisher. I remember turning into John and he says, and I remember thinking to myself, God, please don't let this be too bad. Just take care of me. Take care of me. Bang! I feel boom! Now I don't know what just happened. Now luckily the match is over. He pins me, 1, 2, 3. Comes in the back, I get to the back, I can't move. Now I'm getting a little nervous. Get on a jet, rushed home to my doctor's down in Florida, and get an MRI, find out that I have completely torn my adductor, the top of my adductor and my top of my quad off my pelvis. What I was proud of was to walk out on my own, but not only that, but in this moment where the odds are against you, people are watching, teams depending on you, you either say, I'm done, or this, whatever the is going on, it's temporary, and it may fuck me up at some point down the road, but I'm not gonna let this opportunity go by without giving it my all. As you guys know, there's nothing you can't accomplish. You're gonna go on, you're gonna become world champions. The key for me, what I think one of the keys is, remember where you came from, keep that in the front of your mind, and when shit goes bad and it goes sideways, a lot of shit does, you're getting booed out of the building, or you're coming through this injury, or people are writing you off, oh, you guys ain't make it, you know, any of that, you gotta keep it in here. And it really has to, it should drive you, it should. It works for me, it should drive you. You got all the talent in the world, it's all here. Really, the two things I want to say are, you got to be the hardest workers in the room, and don't f the opportunity up. About America is her resiliency, and she stumbles, and sometimes she gets taken down to her knees, but it's that incredible, one-of-a-kind DNA and constitution that she has, that our country has, that allows her to take a deep breath, gather her composure, and get right back up again and walk forward. I appreciate and love and respect that so much about our country. Little girls running around jumping on me and Lauren, and we're watching the show and crying through the show and laughing through the show.
We will eat it all, and the sauces are small. It's room service.
That's my new favorite song.
My mom's asking me so many questions while the show is on. I'm like, we're trying to watch the show, Mom. But the whole thing is just so surreal. I never thought that, you know, these experiences that I had in my life growing up would ever wind up being part of a series that's going to wind up in people's living rooms. I think the universe, that I'm in a position these days where I could turn these life lessons that I had learned over the years and experience with my family around and share them with audiences and hopefully entertain them. That happened over the years. They were all rooted in struggle. And that, to me, it sits me down when I think about it, because I never thought, here, by the way, in Hawaii, where I had the best of times here on this island, and the hardest of times too, where we were living paycheck to paycheck, and eventually we were kicked off the island. We couldn't afford to pay the rent, and the rent was, I'll never forget it, $180 a week. Where we used to live, I don't want to say where it's at, but it's still there. And I always drive by it, by the way. I drive by, just park, just kind of look. If anybody saw me, they think, who is that creep who is just keeps staring at these little apartment buildings? But again, you know, the fact that it was just surrounded by all the struggle, and then years later, the struggle has turned into a little bit of humor. Have to find humor in it. There's that great saying that today's headlines are tomorrow's punchlines. So we try to find humor in everything.
Did you ever ever imagine during those days when you're, really just wearing a pair of underpants and hitting people over the head with folding chairs, that one day you would be singing in an animated Disney film?
No.
No.
No, not at all. I mean, look, here we are. We're on the show. We're talking about it. The movie's getting ready to come out. And so I was on my way to China. This was about 2.5 years ago. I'm on my way to China, and I'm with my agent. We're getting ready to go over there to promote a movie, and we're getting ready to go on a plane. And he goes, hey, I got to talk to you. I said, we got to get on a plane. He goes, sit down. I'm like, okay. So I sit down, and he goes, this just came in. It's been in development for years now. They just offered you this role in Disney. And I was like, wow. And he goes, your culture, your Polynesian culture, which of course got me very, very excited to showcase our culture. And then I'm like, that's amazing. He goes, and you know what else? I was like, what? He goes, and I got to say it, right? Because this is how we operate. We roll. We're truthful on this show. He goes, you're singing. Wow, all right, well, thank you so much. Yes, let's do it. Let's do it.
Did they know you could sing going in? Were they aware of, did they check first?
No, they did. They did their deep dive research, as only Disney does. I think that they had an idea that, because I sang before in the past, like I would probably come on here and we'd sing a little bit, whatever, just silly, fun stuff.
Right.
So I think they knew that maybe I could carry a tune.
Right.
So I think that was enough. And then they had, of course, the masterful Lin-Manuel Miranda wrote all of our music.
He was here last week, and he said for this is like his dream. He's, he named his son Sebastian after the crab in The Little Mermaid. So, I mean, that to me is proof that this is his dream.
This is literally his dream. But by the way, it's like a dream come true for so many of us, by the way. His son Sebastian was born during the making of Moana. Our daughter, Jasmine, was born during the making of Moana. It's all a very special
How
thing.
old is she now, your daughter?
She's 11 months old, and I have a daughter, Simone, who's 15. And,
Okay.
and here's the crazy thing. So every time I see Moana, I've seen it a few times, it starts off with, of course, baby Moana, who looks just like my 11-month-old Jasmine. And then she grows into this beautiful 15, 16-year-old girl who looks just like my other daughter, Simone. So it's a whole I know, it's
You
that.
should sue.
Buddy,
You should sue.
I am suing. You shouldn't have told them that, yes.
So your 11-month-old is too young, probably, to... Has she seen the movie?
No, she hasn't seen the movie. We can't wait to show it to her, but she loves the trailer. Loves
she
the
does?
trailer. Yeah, because she hears my voice in it.
Oh, right.
So it's a thing, and it's like honey-coated gravel,
That's a double-edged sword, really, because you could get in a situation where, like the song Let It Go in Frozen, where kids love you and they sing the song so many times over and over again that their parents begin to want to kill you.
Yes, I am well aware that could happen, by the way, with the song You're Welcome, but who knows?
You are shooting a live-action movie, Jumanji,
yes.
new version of Jumanji in Hawaii right now.
Yes.
And as you mentioned, that's where you're from. What is it like shooting in the place you grew up?
It's first of all, it's awesome, right? Yeah, it's awesome. Well, it's a double-edged sword, right? There's a side A and a side B to the story.
Tell us about the side B. We don't care about side A. I want to hear about the bad part.
So the bad part is, you go back to Hawaii. Well, first, all the locals are good. I just have to say that bringing a movie of this size and magnitude, the jobs that it creates for all the hardworking locals, that's amazing.
It's great, right?
That's the A side, right? So, but the B side is after every day we wrap, there's fans always waiting, and there's inevitably more cousins. I just got more cousins out of the Yeah, so I go out, and my logistic guys will say, hey, listen, there's 2-3 families over there. And you look over there, and there's like 20 people, and they're all holding things and babies and all kinds of stuff ready for me to sign. I was like, who is it? That's your cousin from your grandfather's side, 10 times removed. And I remember, I'm like, I don't have them. No, they're white. I don't understand. How did that happen? I mean, okay, maybe, but that's the other side to that.
Yeah, right.
That's what happens when you go to Hawaii.
And it's an island. There's nowhere to go. I mean, everybody becomes cousins eventually, right?
No, yeah. Eventually, yes, we all become cousins.
Have you been to the places you used to hang out when you grew up? Were those like spots?
Yeah, so I have, and I'm sure I've talked about it with you a few times. So as I was growing up as a teenager in Hawaii, I used to get in trouble a lot, doing a lot of things I shouldn't have been doing, arrested multiple times.
Yeah.
And so I used to, and so the answer is yes. So I felt like I need to redeem myself. So I went back to Hawaii. I had my 15-year-old daughter, Simone, with me. I'm like, honey, it's Sunday. It's our day off. We're going to go to all these places that I did bad things, and I just got to redeem myself.
This sounds like a movie right off the bat.
We're at least gonna drive by, and I told her story. So basically, it's like there's the lessons here. So here's where your dad, this particular thing happened.
It seems like a terrible idea.
I thought it was a great idea at that time, by the way.
You gotta call me before you have another one of these
Call
ideas.
you next time.
Where
It's
did
all
you
the
go?
places I did bad. What do you think, Jimmy?
This is Daddy's favorite crack house.
Oh my God.
Not that bad?
It's not that bad. It's funny you should say crack because so I used to walk to the gym every day when I was a freshman, right? So I walked in 5 miles. So everybody says you walk 5 miles. I literally had to walk 5 miles, right? So I walked 5 miles to the gym. Midway point to the gym is the 7-Eleven. I used to stop at this 7-Eleven, I swear to God, every day, and I used to steal a king-size Snickers bar.
Every day?
For energy. Well, I didn't have any money, right? So, of course, right? So that's what I did. I took every day for energy, king-size Snickers bar.
Oh, wow.
So I told my daughter, I said, you know what? I said, what if we went, let's go back to the 7-Eleven. Let's just go in there. Let's just go grab a king-size Snickers. Let me literally put $500 down and just say, oh, here, thank you, and then go. She's like, all right, that's kind of cool, Dad. Let's go do that. So we went, we pull up, and she's like, is that? And I look, is that? Yeah, I think he's shooting up drugs right there. Oh, I think right there. Like, so it's so sketchy now, this place. So we did not go in.
It's good. Yes. This is some lesson
Everyone
you
was
taught your
hanging
daughter.
on it. Did he go in? Come on, honey.
We're
look.
gonna make this right. On second thought, we're leaving.
And we left.
So you would go in, and these must have been the least observant 7-Eleven cashiers of all time. This giant boy comes in every day, and maybe they were just too scared to say anything.
I had pimples all over my face because I ate Snickers bar every day. With sugar. I had afro, but I think it's one of those, first of all, same person, employee, every day, same shift, right, every day. I guess it's kind of like, it's a little local, like, hey.
Did you buy anything?
It's okay.
Did you purchase anything as a ruse, or you just go in there, take the Snickers bar and
No,
leave?
I had no money. There was no ruse. It wasn't a sophisticated model I was working with. Little,
Inside the criminal mind of Dwayne Johnson. Wow.
No, it was just that. So one day I will have to go back. If not that one, then a 7-Eleven. And redeem myself.
Go to a different 7-Eleven.
This was back before I became who I am today.
So the AFI Film Festival is going on.
Yes.
Right across the street from us.
Yes, it is.
And this is the premiere of Moana, right? The world premiere?
It is. This is the world premiere of Moana, and I got to tell you, so, there's months and months of planning that go into this, right? These premieres. Tonight, this is one of the biggest premieres in Hollywood ever, of all time. All of Hollywood Boulevard is shut down for this premiere.
It's a nightmare.
There's going to be a special performance tonight outside on stage. So we thought that it would be a good idea to bring all of you with us. Well, there were a few things, a lot of things that my dad taught me. I think my dad grew up tough and hard. My dad was on his own when he was 13 years old, homeless and in the streets. And so
now you have kids. Can you? That's just.
It's hard to fathom, but what it does do, it just gives me a real perspective now that I'm older and a dad myself, on the tough love that I got. So because for years, and I know a lot of my friends, a lot of guys out there's a testosterone thing that just happens between sons and their fathers. And my dad was tough. But he only knew tough love. And it wasn't until I got older and I understood his hard road that he lived on why I was getting that tough love. So I'm grateful for it. But the thing that always sticks out to me that my dad would always say, and my dad would always get up before the sun came up, and he would get me up on weekends when I was like 5 or 6 years old. And I hated it. He would go down, and we would go down to the wrestling mats, and he would put a number on me, even when at that age. And he always said, look, no one's going to ever give you anything, and respect will be given when you earn it, and you got to earn it every single day. You also understand that my dad was in professional wrestling in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s. And at that time, especially in the 60s and the 70s, race tensions were incredibly high. And my dad was one of the first black wrestlers in the world of pro wrestling. And he wrestled in all these little, this is why we lived on the road. So he wrestled in Georgia and in Tennessee and all these little promotions where he became their first black champion. But still, he was their first black champion, but yet he couldn't go to the same bathroom, he couldn't eat at the same counter. So he went through incredibly hard times, and always taught me to be proud of who you are, be proud of your races, and always work hard. Wrestling in the 60s and the 70s.
150 pound Rocky Johnson.
Where it was an all-white wrestling business, an all-white audience. And at that time in the late 60s, where racial tension and divide was still very strong and the wounds were still there. But he was able to change behavior, the audience's behavior. So this all-white audience who would never cheer a black man cheered him in these arenas. He would get up at usually 5:30 in the morning, and he would say, if I get up, you're gonna get up too. Yes. And I wouldn't work out, but he would just make sure that I was there and be with him, and that was our time that we could spend together. My dad always said too that regardless of what you do in life and where you go, respect is going to be given when it's earned, and you have to go out and earn it every single day. My goal was to play in the NFL. Again, because we didn't have a lot of money, so I wanted to be the first one to buy my parents a house, and the dream didn't come true. I didn't get drafted. I didn't get any offers, nothing. I had to work up in Canada at the Canadian Football League. When I was cut from there, my dad had to come pick me up. And I'll never forget, we were on I-75. He lived in Tampa, came to Miami, got in his pickup truck. We drove up I-75. And I'm 23 years old. I am forced to move back in with my parents. My mom and I came home, and I'll never forget, the rent was $180 a week. And there was an eviction, a week. And there was an eviction notice on the door. And it was the final eviction notice. My mom started crying, and I never forgot in that moment. It was a seminal moment for me because I felt like I never want to be in this position again. What can I do? So at 14 years old, I thought, well, the heroes in my life, Muhammad Ali, for example, professional wrestlers, they're all men who have worked hard with their hands and they built their body. Yes, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do what my dad taught me and these other heroes. I'm gonna go build my body so we're never evicted again.